right, one of my favorite superheroes coming to the big screen. Why aren't I more excited? Oh yeah, because it's the third time! Hello everybody, how's it going? I am Laser Dude, and this is my superhero predictions for the movie coming out in 2017, and it is time to look at Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, I kid a little bit in the beginning. I am still excited for Spider-Man Homecoming. It is a movie that is starring a Spider-Man that we actually all like. I like that we got a good glimpse of him in Captain America's Civil War, and we were able to say, hey, we like this guy. Because that puts a whole lot of pressure off. You know, we don't have to worry like, oh, is he going to be good? Is he going to be good? I think we already decided that he is good. We've already discussed how Tom Holland actually is a good Spider-Man. We all enjoyed him in Civil War. We all said, hey, this guy is a good actor. He gets Spider-Man. He's definitely a different type of Spider-Man, but he's definitely Spider-Man. And so we were all excited now to see him continue on in the Marvel Universe. That's the big thing. It's taken this long to get Spider-Man in the Marvel Universe, and we're all really excited for it. So what do we get from the trailer? Well, the trailer's pretty basic. We get that, he's being Spider-Man out there in the world, shooting out webs and doing all this stuff, and then he comes across the Vulture. Now, I always said that when Sam Raimi said, hey, let's do the Vulture as the next villain after Spider-Man 3, and they just said, okay, get out, Sam Raimi, we're going to reboot this sucker. Because I thought, no way would anybody want to make a movie about the Vulture. Now, to be fair, it's not just the Vulture. I hear both Shocker and the Tinkerer in this movie, but still, it was like, why would you want to make a movie about this character? Oh, it's Michael Keaton. So, from Batman to Birdman, from Birdman to Vulture. Okay, I get it. It's a joke. No, I kid. But I think this is mostly just for like the same reason that they chose to do the Lizard in Amazing Spider-Man. You know, the first one is a setup movie. You don't need to go to the big baddies just yet. Just get Spider-Man on his journey, figure out stuff about himself. We've already introduced him to the audience, so we don't really need to introduce him, but what we need to introduce is his world, you know? We've seen him and Aunt May. That's one part of his world. We haven't seen him at high school. We haven't seen really him just fighting regular criminals. We don't even know what his internal dialogue is going to be like, if he hasn't, you know what I mean? It's just like, what is he going to be acting like? What is he going to be acting like outside of Spider-Man? Vulture coming in, doing stuff. He seems to have some sort of vendetta against someone. Spider-Man's getting in his way. It'd be interesting if he has something against Tony Stark, because we know that Iron Man's going to be heavily in this movie. So he has some sort of grudge against somebody. He's shooting things up and is going to be, you know, a big threat to the city and whatnot, and Spider-Man's going after him. I mean, we get a lot of scenes that I don't think should have been in there. I think they do show too much. It's basically Spider-Man just needs to stop the Vulture, though. That's what we get from the trailer. So what am I most excited for? I'm actually excited to see Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the Marvel Universe and interacting with all the other things. I like that scene where they see, you know, they're watching old videos with Captain America trying to, you know, say, do your exercises, eat your vegetable, blah, 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 blah. I like to see him interact with Iron Man and Iron Man telling him to back off, because, like, that's always been something where it's just like, you know, Peter Parker is a kid, you know, he's not a full-grown adult. He is a kid, and yet he has his own rogues gallery. Of course, he starts out as a kid. I'm not saying he is still Spider-Man as he grows up. So for the tone, I think this is an interesting blend of both of the Spider-Man movies. You know, because the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, they were a little bit more cheesy. They had a little bit of cheese on them. Where Amazing Spider-Man tried to go a little bit more serious, but that led it into places that didn't really, you know, it didn't really work that well in some areas. In some areas it did, in some areas it didn't. But the cheese in the old one, in some areas like the villains, it works really well for the villains, but it doesn't necessarily work well for like the love interest or whatnot. this seems to have a good blend, you know? It seems to have the menace of the stories from the Amazing Spider-Man, but it still seems to have some of that cheese, because we're going to have characters go by their names of Shocker, Vulture, and the Tinkerer and whatnot, you know? Like, the old Iron Man movies, if you remember, they kind of had this thing where they didn't want to say the name because that made them seem a little childish. Obadiah Stane said, "We're ironmongers. That's what we do," but he didn't say, "I am Ironmonger." And where the other one would be like, "I'm the Green Goblin. I'm Dr. Octopus." Well, okay, he didn't say I'm Dr. Octopus. That was more James Jones Jameson's thing. But it's going to be interesting to see because the second one got away from a lot of the things the first one did because they just wanted to make itself different. Well, now you can have a thing where you can kind of combine the different things, because now the girlfriend or the love interest isn't either Gwen Stacy or Mary Jane, it's Liz Allen, which I only really know from the Spectacular Spider-Man television show. So it's kind of like we're just switching things up, but we're still trying to keep things from the cheese of the comics, but with a little bit more serious take on it. And that looks good to me. For biggest fear, I think my biggest fear is that there's a little bit too much retread. He's back in high school. We've seen that. He's learning about his abilities and what it takes to be a hero. We have seen that. But it's going to be interesting to see if they tackle it in a new way, or if it's going to feel like, I kind of feel like I've seen Spider-Man learn these things. One thing that I would want to see is I want Spider-Man to outthink his villains more. Usually in the comics, there's always he outthinks them in a clever way and comes out on top. But in the movies, it really just seems like he swings at the right moment and punches them in the right way. Spider-Man winning by punching isn't an interesting concept. I like to see him out-science the other guys, outthink the other guys, out-quip the other guys, piss them off. I want to see Spider-Man is what I want to say. Do I have any predictions? I guess, the trailer seems to show a little bit pretty much the story. Peter Parker's doing Spider-Man stuff, and his friend finds out he's Spider-Man, and then he goes over and gets involved with the Vulture. Iron Man tells him to back off. He doesn't listen, goes out, and then Vulture shoots up that boat, and then there's that scene where they save the boat, and then Iron Man takes back the suit, and then he has to go back out and try to fight the Vulture without the suit. And then, that seems to be where the story is going, and I think they showed way too much of that in the trailer. Hopefully that this show, the movie can give us enough twists and turns that it doesn't make it that much of a problem for me, but as of right now, it looks like they showed us too much of the story. So for my excitement meter, honestly, I kind of have to remind myself that this movie is coming out this year. It's just because we've had so many other Spider-Man movies. It's just a story that we've seen multiple times now, and I'm not sure where it goes from here. Where do we take this? How much can you really change to make it different? And how much of it is it going to feel like a retread? But I am excited to see this movie. I am always excited to see Spider-Man on the big screen. If you think about it, he has probably a better record of movies than most superheroes movies. I mean, seriously, Spider-Man 1 would be it's pretty mediocre. I would say a 5. Spider-Man 2 is really good. Spider-Man 3, okay, it sucks. But Amazing Spider-Man 1 is really good. 2, I still don't know how I feel about that movie. Some stuff I really like, some stuff I really don't like. It's just... But now we're going to get into a movie, and I hope it's new. So as for exciting, I am saying I'm hopefully optimistically excited. Hopefully and optimistic are the same thing. I'm hopefully excited. It's not all the way to the end, but it's pretty high up there. I want to see this movie. I want to see where it goes with it. It's just, there's a lot of things where it's not my favorite villain. The story doesn't seem to be that humongous and doesn't look like it's going to hold too many surprises. So it's more like, I want to see it, but there's nothing in this movie that's got me so hyped, where other movies I think have. As for what are the chances it's a bad movie, I don't think they're that high, because it's a Marvel movie. It's Spider-Man. They know that they need to take their care and pay attention with Spider-Man because he's a big character, a big name, and honestly, he's Marvel's biggest name. Iron Man might be challenging that, but I'm pretty sure Spider-Man is still their biggest property. So I think the chances of it being a bad movie, I think it's honestly, I think it's like 30-70. I think there's only like a 30% chance it's a bad movie. I think that, there's the reason why I don't have it higher is because I think there's a chance where there could be a lot of retread, seeing stuff we've seen before, making it more mediocre. But I don't see anything on this movie that's going to make me dislike it so far. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on Spider-Man Homecoming. I'm hoping that it's good. Which is, I guess, what I can say about all these movies. I hope they're good, but in this, I'm hoping it brings us something new, but something that definitely feels Spider-Man. Like, a lot of the previous Spider-Mans don't have it exactly right. Andrew Garfield had the Spider-Man right, not necessarily the Peter Parker, where Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker... Okay, he cried a lot, but, he did feel a little bit more awkward and whatnot. He felt like a nerd, where I didn't really get that for Andrew Garfield a lot. I don't know, I think Andrew Garfield is the superior Spider-Man out of all of them. Not that he's Doc Ock in Peter Parker's body, but you know what I mean. So far, Andrew Garfield's the best one, but I'm thinking that Tom Holland has a chance to overtake him in this, especially if the story is more coherent and better told than the other Spider-Man movies. So, thanks for watching, everybody. I am Lazy Dude, and see you in my next prediction video. Adios. Be sure to check out some of these other videos on my channel. And wait for more coming soon.